the clock hour. We'll get back to the Giants here because I thought Bob Melvin, I'm trying to figure out who Bob Melvin is or what is the difference between Bob Melvin and Gabe Kapler. And if we're going to start pointing fingers, and I don't like doing this because I thought it was a team-wide meltdown in the ninth inning.
Agreed.
It was bad managing. It was bad execution by the players. But so far, what has been the difference with Bob Melvin and Gabe Kapler? What is the difference? If Farhan is still writing out the lineup card, what's the difference?
Well, let's diagnose this one, right? Like Jorge Soler batting leadoff to start the game. Now, I know he's done that I think for the Braves for a short period of time. Whose idea is that? Is Jorge Soler I know, look, Jung-Hoo Lee's out, so I understand you're going to try something unique. You're going to try something different. Okay, fine. But Jorge Soler batting leadoff, I thought he's in here to like drive in runs. What do you think of that? Let's start there, and then I'll get to the other stuff.
Well, I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. He's had 2 seasons where he's hit more than 14 home runs.
But why is he batting leadoff, I guess is the question.
Ask Farhan Zaidi. That doesn't seem like a Bob Melvin move.
That's okay. That's kind of where I'm going at.
That's a Farhan Zaidi move.
Yeah, I feel the same way, right? And so
what's the point of hiring a Bob Melvin if you're not going to let Bob Melvin be Bob Melvin?
Now, I will give them credit. Luis Matos in the 3-hole, I like that. I think he's earned that. I think it's nice to see him there, you know? And so that to me feels like an organizational decision, and I agree with that, whether that's Bob, Farhan. So I want to play both sides of the coin here. And then I go to later on in the game, and I say to myself, all right, you start Luke Jackson in the 9th. Why? I didn't feel like that game was done. I didn't feel like that game was over. 6-2 in the 9th. Luke Jackson. I believe that the 9th inning. No, can a save opportunity happen in the 8th or the 7th? Yeah, there are seminal moments where you have in the 7th or 8th inning where it's higher leverage than maybe sometimes in the 9th. I don't want Luke Jackson anywhere near the 9th inning. Like Luke Jackson, what? Luke Jackson? So that decision, I want to know, is that a Bob Melvin decision? Is that a Farhan decision? Is that an organizational thing? What was into that thought process? Did they know that Camilo only had so many bullets? Well, you still used him for 25 bullets. You still threw him into that game. And you were going to you want to win game 1 of a huge road trip, and you're going against 2 stud pitchers the following 2 days. I would want to get a victory under my belt. This is the game to have. I don't understand why you go to Luke Jackson there.
Somewhere Guru's happy. I did think of Guru when the Pirates won that game. Surprised when he get a flag from Guru, the Pirates flag that he likes to raise.
I was rooting against Bonte. At least Bonte didn't win.
Raise that Jolly Roger. Raise that Jolly Roger. So what's the definition of growing pains? And this doesn't have to be strictly with the Giants.
Okay.
With Luciano Ramos Matos. Go with the Warriors. We got a first-team all-rookie here in Brandon Pajimski, who's trying to get his game right. First-team all-rookie. Congrats to Brandon Pajimski. TJD just missing out on the second-team all-rookie, but very damn good considering his late second-round pick. We saw the Kamingas. We saw the Moody's. We saw the Pools. Saw the Wisemans. We saw these young players. We see the young players with the Niners. We saw Ayuk as a young player being a doghouse. What is your definition of growing pains? And if it starts to cost you wins, when do you want to abort the mission and say, you know what, I just want to win some games? Forget the youngsters. Does anybody even care?
Well, isn't it like team dependent? So like, I understand trying to fight for a championship or, what you believe to be an opportunity to go for a championship when you have Steph Curry and your whole organizational ethos is championships. Like I understand the tallest level being lower to play a player on that team. On this Giants team, like, come on. Like, nobody thinks they're a contender. So I'll take some lumps. Like, to me, this is the kind of team I'll take my lumps hoping that in August and September of this year and then May of next year, that all those guys that I'm looking for, Ramos, Matos, Luciano, Patrick Bailey even, I'll live with those growing pains knowing that, like, the big picture is I'm not going to compete with the Dodgers for the World Series. Now, do I want to make the playoffs? Of course. I want these guys to have October opportunities, but I'm not going to just have every decision be like, I have to make the playoffs. Then I'm stuck in the Nick Ahmed zone for every position. I'm sitting here making reasons why Wilmer Flores needs to continue to play more and more and more. Wilmer doesn't have a long shelf life. I like Wilmer. He's 34. Nick Ahmed's 34. They're not going to be on my team next year, probably, right? So this is we're rearing our head here on a Conforto thing, for example. Conforto's 31. He's got 1 year left on his deal this year. I don't want to see Conforto play at the expense of Ramos and Matos getting seasoning.
So what if you continue to lose games?
That's
You're going to be okay with that?
That's for me.
I'm not going to be okay with that.
Why?
I'll tell you that right now. Why? I want to compete for something. Been to one playoff since 2016. I want to compete.
But that same reasoning is why Jonathan Kuminga. That same reasoning is why, and I'm looking at the Warriors now.
But it's different with the Warriors because they have championship players.
Then shouldn't you allow more grace for the Giants to develop young players?
I would hope so, but you're one game out of the wild card. If you could start losing games, I want to go to the playoffs, damn it. I want to play meaningful games in August and September. I'm tired of developing every single year. Give these guys their own way, but know that it's going to cost you some games.
With one swing
and I know myself. As a sports fan. There's only so many losses I can take. I'm aware of that one last night. I'm saying, hey, I'd rather have that happen in May than have it happen in July.
I completely disagree.
But if that starts stacking up, and they continue to lose games, and these young players don't amount to anything, then I'm going to be really pissed off.
Well, no,
I'm sorry. I like to win. You start, and then all of a sudden, you start losing games, that affects your bottom line.
Yeah, but
how many fans are going to go to the game saying, yeah, I just want to see the youngsters play. Woo!
Yeah, but you lost that game yesterday. Luke Jackson's a veteran. Camilo Duvall's a veteran. Like, those guys bear a brunt of it. Yaz, who popped up with the bases loaded, he's a veteran.
Marco Luciano.
To me, you could point the finger at the young players, but I could also point
I'm not blaming them. I'm saying
other veterans.
I'm not blaming the young guys at all for last night. That's a team-wide meltdown. I continue to say that. All I'm saying is long term, this season, if you continue to lose games like the way you did last night, and everybody's got their hand in it, but the youngsters, like you see Luciano right there, boom. Routine play, man. You got to get the ball. You got to get that out in the ninth inning. Come on.
But that's part of
that's part of
the maturation process.
But if that continues to happen,
well,
and you continue to lose games, nobody's going to be cool with that.
I can live with the losses. Because to me, it's about big picture. You have to be realistic, and you have to assess big picture where the Giants are at. And the reality is they're nowhere near where the Dodgers and the Phillies are. Like, when they've played those teams head to head, what are they, 1-10, 1-9? Like, they're nowhere near them. Now, I'm hoping that part of the development process is 3 months from now, you guys don't make those kinds of mistakes. Think of where Camilo Duvall was that first year when they brought him up. All right. And he struggled and he didn't look great. And then by year's end, you got to reap the rewards of it. And then in the playoffs, what happened? Well, he goes out there and he gave up the big hit to Bellinger. And then the very next year, he had a really successful first full season. That's part of the development. It's not linear. You're going to have ups and downs. And I would just say this, you don't reap the benefits of a Luis Matos 11 RBI weekend. You don't get to reap those if you're playing Austin Slater.
All I'm saying, Shasky, I know you very well. We get to August and they continue to lose games. You're going to be okay with that? You're going to be okay with losses stacking up?
I'll tell you this. I would rather have a definitive decision on Matos, Ramos, Bailey, and Luciano and be 10 games under 500 than to limp in one game out of the wild card with Nick Ahmed, Austin Slater, etc. And I'm not ripping those individuals, but we've got to play the young guys. You owe it to yourself.
I agree.
And I would rather lose right now with this team and this organ. It's not the Niners. They don't have 7 All-Stars. This isn't the Warriors where they have a generational player. This is the Giants where I don't even know if they have an All-Star on the roster right now.
It is wild to me.
I owe it to myself to see if these young guys can play.
It is wild to me that the only team in this market where this type of thought process is acceptable is with the Giants. We don't use this theory with the Niners and the Warriors. It's like, you better do this. You better do that. If you don't do this, oh my gosh. But with the Giants, again, we continue to treat this organization with kid gloves. We do. We really do. By the way, Dave Fleming is going to join us at 8:30 today instead of tomorrow because it's an early game today. Works better for his schedule. So we'll talk to Flim at 8:30. We've got Andrew Filipponi out there in Pittsburgh. He's going to join us at 9:20, talking about the Pirates, what their youngsters are doing for that fan base.
I just want you guys to talk about me the way you talk about Mike Florio.
Oh, well, we do talk about that. We do. We do. And we'll talk to Andrew about Brandon Ayuk if there's any more rumors out there in Pittsburgh about that. Brandon Ayuk, if they still are holding out hope about that.
Can't we, I get metaphorically what you're saying, but when I look at the Niners, all-world Trent Williams, all-world Nick Bosa, all-world Fred, Warner Jr., all-world CMC. When I look at the Warriors, all-world Steph Curry with the sand coming out of the hourglass. I look at the Giants, It's like Logan Webb and who?
Yeah, but that's part of the problem.
What do you mean part of the problem?
Farhan's been here for 6 years. How the hell in 6 years do we just have Logan Webb, Duvall, and who?
Because all of your thought process throughout that 6 years has been, well, this 32-year-old is slightly better than that 24-year-old, so we're going to lean with the 31-year-old. And, like, that's why we are where we are. You owe it to yourself to finally play the young guys, hell or high water. And if you have to take an L on the face, to me, my decision on Farhan is not about this year. My decision on Farhan is, do I like where we've been after 6 years, and do I trust him moving forward?
What if you're Farhan Zaidi, and you know that, boy, if I play these youngsters, people are happy, we get to see them develop, but it may not about the wins. And if it doesn't end up about the wins, he may lose his job.
Well,
because what Farhan told Susan Slusser a couple weeks ago, the stakes are high for this organization right now.
No doubt.
We expect to be a lot better. We expect to be in the playoffs. If they fall short of those expectations, he's gone.
Look,
if you're Farhan and you're saying, wait a minute here, I can't lose all these games. I'm going to lose my job. I've got to get to the playoffs. I got to tell the Johnsons and Larry Bear and say, hey, look, we made the playoffs. The moves I made worked out. If I continue to play the youngsters and it costs him a playoff spot, well, guess what? He's going to be unemployed.
Yeah, but if Luis Matos bats 300 and is top 4 in RBIs and doubles on your team.
That wasn't his pick.
No, I'm just, but you get credit for keeping him. And if Elliot Ramos continues to bat 275 or higher, right now he's at 290.
And let's keep it real. He's only playing because guys are hurt. Well, it wasn't an organizational decision. He's only up because guys are hurt.
But you get credit for that. Like, that's the only Brock Purdy was not going to be their starter, right? Heading into the year, it worked out that way, and then they pivoted and they made the most of it.
If the Giants weren't dropping like flies, we wouldn't have saw these young guys in the first place. So Farhan did not have it in his plans to play these guys. Didn't.
Well, I just think now enough of this season has gone on. I'm not saying you're tanking. I'm just saying that you look at it very clearly where you're like, all right, we're not going anywhere with Austin Slater and with Nick Ahmed and with Wilmer Flores, for example, playing every single day. I want to see what Luciano has and whether he can make it or not. I want to see if Ramos can play and whether he can make it or not. Because I got Conforto, Conforto's not going to be here next year. Conforto's not, we have no attachment to Conforto whatsoever. And I like him. He's been decent. But, like, how fun has Elliot Ramos been?
It's been fun.
I mean, if by August you know that Elliot Ramos is a guy that you can build with moving forward, doesn't that, A, it saves you $20 million, and B, doesn't that make you feel optimistic?
As I wear this Giants hat, yeah, sure, it's fun. But I'll tell you what's more fun? Winning.
But you told me when they won in 107.
Losing like that is not fun.
But 107, when they won in...
That was a fun year. 2021 was a fun year.
Yeah, but there was no carryover.
Exactly.
And it didn't resonate with the fans.
I cited that. 2021, there was no carryover. And that's something I cited. But 2021 was fun.
So, like,
you can't say that wasn't fun. Winning is fun. They won 107 games. You didn't have fun watching that Dodgers series, Game 5?
No, but I think the big frustration was there was no carryover. There was nothing to build on. And so it was a bunch of guys who had no...
Posey retired, which caught him blind, and the rest is history.
Well, you lost Gosman. You lost a lot of 1 and 2 year players, you know? And so, like, I don't know, man. I think you have to build something. We're very much about our homegrown guys here, and I think it matters if these guys are players or not.
I don't disagree with you that they need to play the young guys. I've been screaming for the young guys forever. But there's a shelf life there if the young guys don't start winning some games. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to care. Joe Schmo, who's spending money at the Giants games and spending $20 for Kraft sandwiches and spending his money on season tickets going to the game every year, you don't want to go there just to see the young guys and have fun and lose games.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that gets old quick. There's no fun in losing a lot of games.
If I told you that Matos would bat around 300 and Ramos would be an over 280 guy the rest of the year, and Harrison continues to pitch like he is, he's 4-1 right now, and Bailey came back and was fully healthy for the rest of the year, and now you got a catcher for the next 4 or 5 years, and then, you know, Luciano continues to hit the way that he does. And then there's some growth developmentally at shortstop, clearly. Like Marcus Simeon's a great example. Marcus Simeon was a horrible defender.
He was.
And look what he has evolved into. You don't get the payoff of what the player has evolved into without the growing pains. So if I told you at the end of September, all of those guys are keepers, that's a nucleus. Even if they're 10 games under, the Giants fans would head into the offseason feeling so much more optimistic than missing the wild card by 1 game.
All right, let's go to Gonzalo in San Francisco. Gonzalo, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Yeah, hello.
What's up, Gonzalo?
Hey, how's it going? I feel like before the trade deadline, the Giants should think about maybe making a run for JD Martinez. Maybe get rid of Michael Conforto and Austin Slater. I don't know. I was just thinking about that. I don't know what you guys think, though.
JD can still hit. He can still hit. He had a great year with the Dodgers last year. He's starting to find his bat with the Mets. We'll see what the Mets do. The Mets are still trying to make the playoffs. If there's anybody from the Mets I want, it's Pete Alonso. It's not JD Martinez, because if you trade for JD Martinez, he's strictly DH right now. What do you do with Jorge Soler, who can't hit the backside of the barn? So that's why I would rather have Pete Alonso.
That's an interesting point. But like I'm looking at the kid last night, O'Neal Cruz for the Pirates, right? The Pirates have been losing like crazy. And I know there are Pirates fans that are sick of losing because they've lost for 20 years, right? That's kind of where they're at. He's one of the most exciting players in the game. And I think fans, for the most part, are like, wow, as long as we've got him, we eventually should win.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh's different than the Giants. The expectations with their fan base is completely different. The market they work in is completely different. They operate like a small market team. The Giants operate like a big boy team. So there's levels to what the Pirates can endure and what the Giants can endure and what their fans can endure. They're always bringing up some young guys and then flipping them because they can't pay them.
But from a business model standpoint, I don't think you're selling to this area journeyman guys who are marginal competing for a wild card spot. I don't think that resonates at all.
I don't know. Does it? 888-957-9570. What do you want to accomplish this season? Do you just want to see the young players pop and live with the results? Or do you want to win? It's simple to me.
I'm planting my flag. I just want to see the young players develop. That's all I want to see. I want to see if these guys are players. All I want to see is the young dudes that I've been hearing about and watching, and they're fun. That's the other part. Like, watching Marco Luciano hit is fun. Watching Ramos and Matos develop is fun. That, to me, is way more fun than whatever Nick Ahmed's fielding percentage is at shortstop.
Right.
Then whatever, the combination of Austin Slater, Yaz, and Michael Conforto can give me.
So that's where I'm at then. Giants fans, 888-957-9570. As they lose a game in Pittsburgh last night, give up 4 runs in the ninth inning and lose in the bottom of the 10th. What do you want to accomplish this season? Do you just want to see the young guys? Or do you want to win? Like I see BZ's, he doesn't care about the wins and losses. That's where we're at with the Giants. With a $200 million payroll, we don't care about wins and losses.
It's unacceptable.
All we want to do is see the young guys. Now, I want to see the young guys just as much as anybody, and I'm excited as hell. I've had a lot of fun over the last week. But I'm not going to lie. The more and more I think about that loss last night, I'm thinking, damn, 5-game winning streak. Oh, now you lose one. Now you got Skeens and Jones in the back end of the series, and you got the Mets, and then I'm looking at the Phillies and the Yankees coming to town next week. Then, you got the Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers, and I'm like, damn. All we may have is the youngsters in a minute, but I do want to win.
Well,
who likes losing?
Of course.
Who likes losing?
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
No,
so
I want to win.
You don't get to become the Baltimore Orioles or the Houston Astros without the losing on the front end. You have to, if you want to see young players progress, very few are going to hit the ground and just be all world. Julio Rodriguez is a great example. He struggled last year. Well,
until the second half of the season, he went crazy.
Okay, so but you don't
get near batted 300,
but you don't get to reap those rewards, right? He showed you so much the rookie year. You don't get to reap the rewards on the back end if you bail on the young players. Like O'Neal Cruz. Again, I bring him up. He made an error to start that game. It gave them a 2-0 lead. He made an error. And then later on in the game, he made up for it. He also, if you're watching with the infield in the 8th inning, he should have made that play at home. He fields it cleanly and goes home. It's a 5-2 game and not a 6-2 game heading into the 9th inning. So, but you don't get that electric at bat if you don't live with the ups and downs of watching O'Neal Cruz play.
So we're willing as a fan base to sacrifice wins or losses to see the youngsters.
I am.
All right.
I'm raising my hand, and I'm daring any Giants fan to come in at me.
We'll see what happens if they continue to lose games.
Yeah, and I'll jump in with that too. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there, Bonte, but like if you had to choose between wins, development,
I would like to see more development.
Yeah.
I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. I think the more you do play these young guys, the more comfortable they get, the better they get.
I agree.
It will start to turn into wins. But, Bonte, you made an interesting point. Do you choose between playing the veterans and the young guys? If you're Farhan Zaidi, you're thinking, I need to win games so I can keep my job. Well, you know what, Farhan? If you put better rosters on the field the last couple of years, you wouldn't find yourself backed into this corner where you are in this desperation situation where you have to choose between winning now or building something going forward.
That's where, believe it or not, I side with Farhan as the president of baseball operations. You spent over $200 million on this roster. Now, I don't think it was money well spent, but it is what it is. You did spend $200 million on the roster. You have a top 10 payroll. And my job, my seat is hot. It is hot. My booty is burning right now. The seat is so damn hot. I gotta win games.
Yeah, I think the youngsters could save his job. Like, if I told you the 3 youngsters, including Bailey, the 4th, if all of those guys were projected starters by mid-August, we're like, yeah, these are the guys we're rolling with moving forward. Even if they're 10 games under, I think he does keep his job.
Interesting.
I think that's more important.
Then how would that make Giants fans feel?
Well, you know what I would say? I would love to be wrong. Like, you stuck with these guys.
Right.
The plan didn't work out the way I wanted, and you were right. And even though you didn't plan for them to be here by 2024, they're here. You had other guys that were going to take their place. But do you pivot off those other plans? Part of why I give Kyle Shanahan a lot of credit with Purdy, he pivoted off Jimmy. He pivoted off Trey Lance.
Let me ask you this one. Let's say hypothetically, Conforto comes back. And starts hitting, and Soler all of a sudden turns it around, and some of the youngsters, their playing time gets compromised. Nick Ahmed starts playing a little bit more, who was having a solid season, but we all agree it's a one-year deal. And they start rolling with some of the veterans. What do you do at the deadline? And you're Farhan Zaidi. You sell?
Yes.
You sell
about
who?
Big picture.
You sell who?
Look, Lamont Wade Jr. is a great example.
There's a lot of pressure on him to win this year, Sasky. It's year 6.
But this is
year 6. Butts are not coming to the seats. There's a lot of pressure.
I don't know. I think mediocre veterans that are slightly above average in all metrics, that does nothing for the fan base. This is a business. And this business model that they put out there with the retreads, it doesn't resonate with the fans. The young guys have resonated more in 3 weekends than any of those veterans you're referencing.
Farhan said, stakes are high. So what does that really mean with this team? Stakes are high. Stakes are very, very high. Wonder what happens here.
With one swing of the bat, like you're talking about veterans, Austin Slater's, and he's one guy. With one swing of the bat, Ramos had more impact than Slater all season. One swing.
I totally
one
agree.
swing. So this narrative that young players don't help you win is crazy.
But I don't disagree that they should play the youngsters. I've been screaming for the youngsters forever. But what we saw last night with Luciano in that big spot, it's not just him, Luke Jackson and Bob Melvin. If anybody's going to get the blame to me, it's Bob Melvin for the way he managed that ninth inning. I thought it was abysmal. But they're going to have to live with some of the bumps and bruises with some of these youngsters. They're going to make mistakes.
All-star closer gets the job done and Luke Jackson doesn't start the inning, we're not even having this conversation.
And trust me, we all say that we're having patience right now. Well, we saw Jonathan Kuminga. He got hurt, missed 6 games. How patient were Warrior fans with JK after that? They weren't too patient after that, were they? They weren't too